So a lot of people say Lego is the largest toy company in the world. Is that actually true?
It's the best-selling toy in the world. It is a privately held company, and I think that's what sets it apart from your other two big guys, Mattel and Hasbro. They're both publicly traded companies, and they lose a lot of that personal touch and personal control. You're now working for the shareholders or a board or your employees, whereas Lego is privately owned still. They can make any decisions they want.
Grandson or great-grandson of Lego still owns it today, right? It's owned by the family of the original creator, correct? A family member is not the CEO, but they own it. Okay.
Yeah, they still own it, and they have a CEO working for them.
Why would a company want to go public? What is the advantage?
Money.
Okay.
It's all about the money.
It's publicly traded.
Yeah. Another reason they might want to go public is for funding, so that they could expand and do more, such as building more factories in China. So that it's a way to raise capital. However, you've got people out there today that are just trying to build businesses for the pure sake of taking them public. Basically, it's you selling it and cashing out.
That's your retirement plan. Just build this company. Okay.
So I own Atlanta Brick Co. along with my business partner Ed, and he and I, it's our passion. Anything that we do represents us. We take everything very personally. Every single review we read, and we have thousands of reviews. Whereas if we were a publicly held company, our employees would just be
ants,
not really caring as much about it as we do. There wouldn't be anybody at the helm. It's just a CEO who might work for someone else in a few years and go make another bad G.I. Joe movie at a different company.
It's about the profit. Your boss is no longer the owner. Your boss is the shareholders. It almost doesn't matter if you make your customers angry. The decision you make is financially advantageous for the shareholders, then you're going to make that decision, even if it's bad for in the short term for the product or for the customers sometimes.
And it's one of the reasons, like, sorry to keep bringing up the G.I. Joe movie, but I was G.I. Joe is probably my number one toy. That's my number one favorite thing that I played with when I was a kid. So when those movies came out, I was so excited and so disappointed. I want color, you know? I want Cobra Commander to look like this.
Right.
I was actually, this morning, I was cataloging my G.I. Joe figures. And I was looking at a Cobra Commander from The Rise of Cobra, and I thought it was Destro. I was like, why can't I find this guy in the G.I. Joe database? And it was because it wasn't Destro, it was Cobra Commander. I was like, that didn't even look like him.
Yeah, not even close.
You know, they're trying to reach new markets with that movie. Same thing with Snake Eyes, because obviously they weren't looking to target their old fans.
Right.
They were trying to reach new fans so they can make more money.
Well, let's compare it to the Lego movies, how those were different. Now, Lego did put it in the hands of the movie company. I heard that they were pretty hands-off with it.
I'm sure Hasbro was the same way. They did not make that movie.
Right.
You know, somebody else did.
I think, you know, just to go on a slight tangent, G.I. Joe is difficult because it is grounded in reality and it's about war, and that's hard to do.
That's not a popular thing right now.
It's not a popular thing, and it's hard to gear that towards kids. They tried to make it more fantasy, like the cartoon was, more ridiculous plots.
More James Bondy.
A little more James Bondy, but that's difficult to do when your whole thing is you're fighting a war on terror. That was what G.I. Joe was, which was great in the 80s.
Yeah, but it's a difficult subject right now.
It's sensitive,
Hey, Top Gun, Maverick pulled it off.
Yeah, that was targeted toward nostalgia, which you already mentioned that G.I. Joe
was not.
It was trying to get a new audience, and they should have done both. They should have leaned into the nostalgia and then, you know, had the more campiness to it, but still made it fun. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head where you're not beholden to the customer, you're beholden to the shareholder, which is the big difference. Now, you do want to make your customers happy, because if your customers are happy, they spend money, and then the shareholders are happy.
You'd think, but then they sometimes make decisions that are more with the shareholder mindset.
Yes, but that's usually when it ends up bad. They didn't understand their customer base. Their whole goal is to make money, and to make money, you make your customers happy, because happy customers spend money.
Do you think Lego has a good finger on the pulse of its customer base, or do you think sometimes they miss the mark being a self-contained little bubble private company?
They have struggled, just like every company struggles. They have had their ups and their downs. It's just in the past, 10 years, they've really had their ups. We have been fortunate enough to be in that market. Mm-hmm. You know, when I first started branching off from my professional career, my real job, 15 years ago, I was selling all types of toys. And it's Lego that kind of just took off for me. Mm-hmm. If G.I. Joe had succeeded with that movie and they took off like Lego, I'd
be a G.I. Joe store
right now. Yeah.
Atlanta Joe Stone.
Yeah. That's
like,
Joe Stone.
But G.I. Joe does not have that kind of market.
Mm-hmm. No.
Another tangent, G.I. Joe was considered a deadline for Hasbro. And then all of a sudden Classified happened and everybody started buying G.I. Joe, which kind of came out of nowhere.